for the patience.
Yeah, no, thank you.
I'm just gonna go ahead and roll.
Fab.
I think it's recording already. So, podcast number 6 with Casey Jones. I'm also a Jones, Eric Jones, actually. So,
I know.
sales intersection is where we talk sales, with the intersection being a unique perspective on business trends, whether it lightly touches on sales or goes heavy. And today we have Casey Jones, a huge advocate of underrepresented sales professionals. And that was more or less the foundation, right, of you founding the podcast, The Other Side of Sales. And in addition to that, another accolade, recently named one of top 35 influential women to watch by Sales Hacker. She hasn't won an Oscar or an Emmy yet, but we'll just proceed with the podcast.
Fabulous. It's good to be here.
Well, way to go. How does that happen? Do you get like an email or something, or you get like something in the mail, or someone taps you on
No,
the shoulder when you're
you just
walking?
get it. You just get an email and you get added to a blog post,
And what
but
do you
it's
do? Do you
always,
like take it, have a drink, or call your best friend?
no, because you always get you get the email at like, I don't know, 9:30 in the morning on a Monday. So it's not really the best
Oh,
time for kind of celebrating, but still it's fun. And especially when I got it, I was much like,
yeah. You freeze on me. I'm going to put this on my own computer.
wait, there
Okay,
you
there you
are.
are. It's working.
Okay.
Anyways, a lot of little mishaps here, but I wanted to focus on, the more interesting questions. I know you get kind of the background and stuff. And I did my research. I'm a sales guy myself. I know that you used to lead an SDR team, and
Yep.
you didn't find enough meaning, fulfillment in that grind. And I also found that, and that's why it's really the reason I founded this company and this podcast, is to find more meaning in sales and show more color than a black and white world where you're either performing well or you're not, and that's who you
Yeah.
are. And so, I know that when you're a little girl, if someone asked you what you want to be, you'd say a politician or a famous movie star, right?
I thought, so I just had my 38th birthday. I thought by 38, I would either be like a member of Congress or have won an Oscar at this point. If you'd asked me when I was like 17, it would have been won an Oscar. By the time I was like 19 or 20, I would be a member of Congress. So things have changed a little bit over the years.
Well, you could probably make an argument that there's a little bit of both in your world today, right?
Yeah, and look, I mean, I think there's a couple of things. Like one, what it really means is that um, I care deeply about people. I care deeply about connection to people. And I also, and what I've said in the past is like, I know those two answers make me sound like maybe I'm a narcissist. I promise that's not the case. It's more that I want to make a difference in this world. I want to have an impact.
Yeah.
And so I think, the past 20 years of my life, I've been figuring out what kind of an impact makes sense for me and how do I go about doing that. And I know I'm not alone in
Sure,
that
sure.
process. I think that's increasingly common, especially these days, about wanting to feel like your life matters and like you're doing something positive in the world.
Yeah. Is there any way you could turn up your audio at all? A little bit more?
Yeah. Does that better? I have it pretty
More?
cranked. That's like, um, wait, is that
It's
it?
it's
No,
just faint.
that's
I
my
don't want to
audio.
miss anything you're saying.
Okay, here, how about this?
That's
Is that
better.
better?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
there we
better.
go. Okay.
Yeah, so the way I thought of this, the value for you and really for the listeners is around people. You have a big emphasis around people, not the, to put it in a sales analogy, not the latest sales methodology or the way to close a deal. It's the people, maybe the culture, or who you work with. What was how did you get that that view? I mean, of valuing people. I mean, I think most people value people, but to that extent that it's all about people.
Okay, here's a great example. So the last time I was on a sales team, I worked at a startup that had an amazing culture when I joined, and I got to work for a sales leader who was genuinely like one of the kindest humans in the world. And company was based out of San Francisco. The sales development and then account management office were based in Portland, which is where I was. And our Portland office had an unreal culture. I mean, I haven't worked for this company in 5 years, and we all still get together probably once a year to have happy hour with each other because we're all still so close. Like, when I got married, I'm divorced now. When I got married, I'd only worked there maybe 4 or 5 months. I didn't even like invite anybody to my wedding, and they still, everybody chipped in and bought all the champagne flutes on my registry. They knew I was gluten-free, and they got me a gluten-free like chocolate cake, and they figured out what my wedding colors were, and they gave me this huge bouquet of flowers in my wedding colors, and then they kicked me out of the office at 10 a.m. on like my last day before I took off for the wedding. Like, this is what we did. And as a result, like, we all worked our asses off. We worked so hard. We were all so passionate. We were all so kind and wonderful to one another. And then you'd go to the San Francisco office and you'd be like, oh, shit, this is weird. And as the company was really growing, they made these, the sales team especially was like all heart. And we had this sales leader who is based in San Francisco who okay, he definitely made some inappropriate jokes. He was kind of an HR nightmare, but literally everyone knew that he would walk through fire for you. And so we all just we were in it, and we felt it was like a family, and we cared about the work we did. And as a freaking SDR at a tech company, you felt like you were like saving the world because they had this way of making it feel so heart driven.
Yeah. That means so much. I mean, I've been on both sides where it's absolutely horrible, and it's agony going through.
Didn't get it, the week, had no idea like what was kind of going on, and the culture just started to disintegrate. And overnight, people started being cold with one another. People started leaving. The culture completely shifted, and the company really started to falter. And their growth 100% stalled after that. And to me, it was like it all came down to people. And what I loved about being in sales. So before I led a team of SDRs, I was an account executive. It's when I didn't work in tech. When I made the transition to tech, I took a step back to take a leap forward. And that's when I started back doing sales development. But then I switched to marketing while I was at that company as well. And the connection for me of sales and sales development and marketing is what I love to do and what I call relationship building at scale. So how do you, whether it's marketing or whether it's sales, how do you scale it successfully, but how do you do it in a way that makes every single person you touch feel like they've actually built a relationship with you, feel like there's actually like an intimate connection between them and you and your company. And when you have this emphasis on the people that work for your company that are doing this work, but then also the people that you are selling to, not the companies, the people, the work is more rewarding.
Yeah.
Everybody just feels better about it. And you learn a lot more and you learn a lot faster because
Yeah.
you're actually taking the time to kind of listen and understand and kind of grow together.
So yeah, good segue then begs the question, what is your process for interviewing and hiring your teammates to ensure that your team is, you know, that cohesive
So
unit?
I got to be honest, I'm kind of a shitty hirer. Like I am someone who I go off of gut feeling, and I also trust people a little bit too much about what they say. And we actually had this conversation on my team pretty recently because we're thinking about looking for an intern or a couple of interns. And we joked about the fact that like I'm not a great manager. If somebody doesn't, if somebody doesn't tell me that they're struggling, somebody doesn't like communicate that with me, I'll just assume everything is fine. And we've had a couple of issues on my team where it took me a couple months to realize that someone just like literally wasn't doing their job. And because I kept trusting that things were getting done and we were moving so quickly that I wasn't doing a good enough job of like really being super detailed and following up. What I can say though is I am a good leader. Like if somebody does come to me and they're like, hey, I'm struggling with this, I will stop everything and I will do everything I can to get them the support that they need to get to where they want to go. And we work like really well on it, like as a team and like a cohesive unit. But I need people that are super self-sufficient and really motivated to do those things on their own. And I haven't been great in the past at interviewing for that. I think I'm getting better at like understanding where I've gone wrong there. Where I am better is like, okay, when we have the team, how do we support one another? And I mean, especially with COVID, when we're not in the same office anymore, we have daily stand up. We have our morning call where we just check in on what's going on in the day. Dude, these calls are like my favorite part of the day. We laugh our asses off, like we are telling jokes, like we are, we're a little team. It's just three of us. They are family. We are so close. My boyfriend made fun of me the other day because he said that I was humble bragging because I was bragging to him about how my 24-year-old employee will text me at like 9 o'clock at night on a Friday about something personal. And I'm like, yes, like I'm cool enough that we are that close. And so I think the big thing is, and especially as we as a country are going through what a frickin' time, we have to care about our colleagues and our employees more than about the work that they do.
Yeah.
Really have to see the whole person and do everything you can to understand what is their vision for their life, who do they want to be, and how can you do everything you possibly can to get them there.
Yeah, it's not an extra ping pong table or love seat or, some kind of happy hour, right? I feel like in 30 years, it's going to be one of the, how we look back 40 years, how we treated women or, racism or something like that. Work culture is going to be looked at like, you guys did what?
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy,
Yeah. It
and
is crazy.
it's an exploding industry, right? HR and how to make your employees happy and fulfilled and
Yeah, but here's the thing that like I think not enough people understand. Like you can't rely on HR for that. Like HR's job is risk mitigation. HR's job isn't to really help people thrive. There are departments that can kind of think through that, but really They are like the CYA department, cover your ass department for corporations. So every manager out there has to be thinking through like what they personally can do to support their team. And I'm a big believer in this concept of like, you know, a servant leader. Like what can you do to support and serve your team, your employees, so that they can achieve that kind of level of greatness and you can just get out of the way. And I can say, like, from very personal experience, you know, I just went through what is by far the most horrifying and traumatic experience of my life. And I spent almost a week in the hospital. I was not working, or very, very barely working, for about a month. And, you know, my team was absolutely 100% there for me. They pulled out all the stops to support me during that time. And they kept our business afloat. They kept the lights on. They kept the machine running. And so I know that so often there are employers that are like, oh, if I give them an inch, they're just going to take it and I'm going to get nothing in return. And it's like, no, people aren't like that. And if you give generously and you really support your team, they will do everything they can to return that favor and support you in return.
Yeah. So, I mean, you made the switch. I mean, you became an entrepreneur. You had no marketing experience. You're not a good manager, but you have a huge heart. People love you. People want to work for you, right? And you have kind of probably a big vision person, right?
Yeah.
So
I did have marketing experience because I transitioned to marketing by the time I went out on my own. But when I transitioned to marketing, I had zero marketing experience. Like, I went from sales and they gave me a project in a department and I had basically no oversight. And they were like, here, figure out this marketing problem. And I literally had no idea what I was doing, but I figured it out. To quote Marie Forleo, everything is figure outable. And it's actually, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie The Martian. I waited forever to see this movie because I thought it would be like really depressing and scary. It's like an astronaut gets trapped on Mars is basically the premise of the movie. It turns out it's actually really, really funny.
Is it Matt Damon?
With Matt Damon.
Yeah, I watched it.
The very end of it, he talks about he's teaching a class of wannabe astronauts, and he's like, okay, no matter what, at some point you are going to think that you're going to die, and all you can do is solve one problem at a time. And I feel like it's like the perfect analogy for life. Like, shit is hard. We have no idea what we're doing. At any given point, you're like overwhelmed with stuff. And you just have to figure out, like, what's the most immediate problem? What's the most urgent problem? And you solve that one. And once you got that, you move on to the next one. And like, it's amazing what we can do in this life if we just take that attitude.
I had a question, and I'll get to it. But yeah. What do you do something on the side to kind of to give you a little bit of zen so you can focus on one problem at a time? I mean, what's your you time? Is it yoga, meditation, chanting?
So I am a big believer in habits and routines. So I do the Wim Hof breathing method every night before bed, which is basically like super deep meditative breathing. Every night before bed, I also write my list of the things that I plan on doing the next day. I find I sleep way better when I do that, and I get a lot more done the following day. When I wake up in the morning, I start every day either with some form of exercise. I'm finally back on the Peloton. Um, uh, Usually a big glass of celery juice, usually some meditation and a cold shower. And
A cold shower?
well, I start with a hot shower, but then it's like anywhere from 2 to 3 or 4 minutes of as cold as I can stand it. Um, and like I am a big believer in like having your systems and routines, and you do the things that like kind of make you feel better. When I was commuting, I walked to the train and I always listened to a nonfiction audiobook, and then I read on the train. Um, and I read a lot. I right now watch a lot of the Great British Baking Show, which let me tell you, if you want to be in a good mood and just like feel like life and people are wonderful, it's the best ever. And I mean, I think those are kind of the big things that I do on a consistent basis to feel as zen as I possibly can. Oh, I also um, see my therapist once a week. And now, as I've been recovering from things, twice a week. So I kind of feel like everyone should be in therapy.
Yeah. Do you guys do that remote right now? Or
Yeah. Yeah.
um, so what was the moment when you decided you were going to go do your own thing? And was it looking back, was it the right time? Was it just, it didn't matter if it was the right time or not? You had enough. And I mean, what
It was not the time I had intended. So at the time I was the head of marketing for an early stage startup. And it's actually sort of, the timing was a little bit of a coincidence. So I had been asked to go to Beirut, Lebanon for 10 days to lead a series of like go to market and like growth strategy workshops for the first ever partnership between the UN and a startup accelerator. And side note, the neighborhood where this accelerator was and the hotel that I was staying in and where a bunch of the friends that I met there lived is actually right next to where those huge explosions happened in Beirut. So it's been really, really devastating seeing those videos. But while I was there, I had just an incredible experience. And I had gone over there with total imposter syndrome and sort of thought, what the hell can I teach these people? They're trying to solve real world problems. But I got an amazing feedback about the value I provided, about the things that they learned. And so I came back to the States like on cloud nine and was like, oh God, I love this. I love this like mentoring and coaching of these startups. And I was like, I would love to do this. And I thought, in like 8 or 9 months, I think I want to leave and I want to go out on my own and I want to do this work. And the second day I got back, I found out that the startup I was working for had run out of money. So at that point I was like, well, shit. Do I try to find another job or do I go out on my own? And I took a call with a woman I really respect, and we'd been working on like a project together. And so I was giving her an update on like, well, this project's not happening and here's why. And she's like, well, what are you going to do? And I was like, I'm not 100% certain if I want to find a job or if I want to go out on my own. She's like, oh, if you go out on your own, like I need a marketing consultant, I'll hire you. And so that was my first client. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I don't think I applied as much intention as maybe would have been valuable down the line. But it all just kind of came together and it worked out.
That's great. I just started my own thing, and the launch of the website should be coming soon. And just creating something, just whether it's a birdhouse or something of your own, it's just so much more fulfilling.
It really is.
Then
though, I don't know if you're finding this. The hardest part it's like anything. The best part of it is also the hardest part. Like I found especially early on, like what's great about doing your own thing is like the blend of the personal and the professional. You get this like it's just so much more rewarding. But I also found that like if I had a shitty day, like if my boyfriend and I got in a fight or something like that, I had a much harder time not bringing that to work. Whereas when you work for someone else, it's like just much easier to leave home at home and work at work. And it just doesn't, it's harder when you go out on your own or like you have a bad day in the office and it's just much harder to let it go when you're at home. It gets easier, but I just like that was by far the hardest part for me in like the first kind of like 6 or 9 months where it was like,
My girlfriend actually just, I think I'm the opposite, where I kind of block other areas out
yeah, that's good that you're able
forget
to do that. I wasn't good at that.
yeah.
I'm
I mean,
impressed.
I do, you know, I'll try, I really try, I meditate every day and I'll try to, you know, set a clean slate, but
Yeah.
sometimes I miss really big red, you know, like
Yeah.
there's big speed bumps in the relationship and I should be addressing them and I she'll have to bring them up, you know,
Yeah.
if a 7-year-old would notice, you know.
I mean, it is funny. It's just, I think it teaches you a lot about sort of where your blind spots are in life because you get caught up with things I think much easier when it's yours, and
Yeah,
sometimes it's really good and sometimes it's not so good.
yeah. Well, especially in the beginning too. I mean, right now it's just me and I'm, you know, something. Well, and I have a tech guy.
Yeah,
So we do kind of like this digital transformation of going audio, people trying to, you know, their personal brand through
yeah,
video, podcasting, video prospecting, you know,
yeah,
the whole slot of even out of the box or, you know, left field type uh, digital media mediums. And at first it was all, you know, it was just myself. And so like building the website at first, it looked terrible. My friends were like, oh my God, like that looks like a 3-year-old did it. I mean, I had this idea of like Yellow Brick Road and people were just, you know, but other areas that I was good at, you know, and
yeah,
so now I'm getting to the point where I'm getting some help, you know,
yeah,
and some traction, and that feels really good. So there's that. Um, so you've just gone through a horrific time.
yeah.
And by the way, are you going to keep the dog or?
No, we don't have the dog.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Um, so in those times, I bet you leaned on people. Um,
Oh yeah. I mean, so it's interesting. And this has made me think a lot about kind of the work that I do. So it happened on a Wednesday. On Thursday, I had surgery. And that Thursday night, I woke up in the middle of the night and I could not go back to sleep because I couldn't stop crying. And I realized that night that I kind of had a decision that I needed to make. And I just had this like gut feeling that if I didn't start really reaching out to people and I didn't start speaking fairly publicly about what had happened to me, that every day that I waited, it would become exponentially harder to do that. And because my instinct was like, I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to, I don't want to share this. I just wanted to retreat. And I just knew in my gut that like, if I did that, it would make everything harder down the line.
yeah.
So I made the decision on Friday to reach out to a bunch of friends and to also post about it on LinkedIn. And it's funny, it's like it's the friends that I've made through LinkedIn and through like work connections that were, I mean, my ride or dies during this. They were the ones that were like, there was a group of women here in Portland that I all met through work or through LinkedIn, who they took turns delivering food to my house so that my boyfriend and I didn't have to worry about groceries. We didn't have to worry about cooking, like any of those things, for almost a month. Um, Ashley Early, my podcast co-host, she started a GoFundMe to help pay with all the medical bills, which were pretty astronomical. And also right after COVID, which like we had a hard time at the beginning of COVID with business. And so it was a really tough period. And it was just this really great reminder of like the work that I've done over the last couple of years of building a really powerful network. It saved me in a time when I didn't even know what kind of help I needed. I didn't even really know how to ask for it. And people just came out of the woodwork to support me. And it was just such an incredible experience and reminder of, the power of human connection.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like you have one thing I wanted to ask you is it seems like, one of the reasons you're successful and people love you and you have such a strong social network is you speak from the heart, and that heart is a good heart. And I follow you on, LinkedIn and Twitter. And there's a lot of authenticity, and in terms of building the brand, you talk about that consistency and authenticity. What about the people that need a paycheck and they're not as successful as you, and they're just an account executive, and if they're afraid of writing the wrong thing on LinkedIn or Twitter because it might not be aligned with the corporate policy or mission statement or North Star. Like some people don't have the luxury of being authentic because they need that money, but they need to be themselves.
So there's a couple things. One, I think that most of the time I have conversations with people that express that sentiment, it's a cop-out. The things that they want to say are not going to get them fired. I mean, we live in a world where there's plenty of controversial things that you could say on social media that might get you fired, but those are actually fewer and farther between. The vast majority of the things that people are actually considering about saying in public are not going to get them in trouble, are not going to get them fired. It's going to help prospects understand their character and see them as real people. It's going to further their career, not endanger it. Like, yeah, don't curse out potential prospects. Don't take really provocative stances on social media, but man, everything else is fair game. And I think it's to me, most of the time when I hear people say that kind of thing, it's imposter syndrome. It's they're really, really nervous about being themselves and it not going well. It's not about getting fired. 90% I would say of like the reasons people give about not being more active on social media, they are just forms of imposter syndrome. I hear a lot also, oh, well, I don't have anything unique to say. Damn right you do. There is no one out there that has your particular blend of experience and perspective and thinking on things, who's been through the same things that you have, who has the same skills and passions. You have a unique voice. It's just finding that pathway to saying it. And I think it's more a matter of taking a step back and thinking about, okay, what would be my goals? And I think a ton, like one of the number one things I sort of urge the clients I work with on when we're working on kind of their thought leadership is, I love the Maya Angelou quote. People don't remember what you said. They don't remember what you did. They remember how you made them feel. So take a moment and think about, like, how do you want to make people feel? Unless you're kind of a shitty human, how you want to make people feel is not going to piss off your employer. And if you can think through, like, how do I want to make people feel? What do I want to be known for? Like, what is the takeaway I want people to have when I speak publicly? Usually the answers to those things are hopeful and powerful and inspiring. And when you have that kind of approach, it becomes just a little bit easier to start to put yourself out there. And, one thing I can just say is that, yeah, I'm now at a point where I speak very candidly. I share very personal things about my life on a public forum. It took time for me to get here. And what it did is it took me kind of pushing my personal envelope and seeing how it felt. And truly, every single time I have shared something hard and scary and personal, every single time, I will get direct messages from people who will say, oh my God, I'm going through something so similar and I feel so alone. Thank you for saying that. Or, I went through that and I didn't know how to talk about it. And you make me feel like maybe I could talk about it. And, like, be willing to just push yourself just a tiny bit. And I promise the response is going to be one of support. And it will get easier and easier and easier to do it. But you have to be willing to kind of push yourself.
I could see an alternative job for you being like a therapist, or, there's probably like a long line of people that want you as a mentor. But
a lot of what I do is kind of what I do is like thought leadership therapy.
I know, I'm feeling soothed. But who are your mentors? Or, I mean, even if you don't talk to them, who do you look up to that's in your space?
Well, I am very, very lucky because I get to talk to a lot of my mentors. So John Barrows has been an unbelievable friend and mentor to me. And I look up to him a ton. Trish Bertuzzi, Lars Nilsson has been an amazing supporter and mentor of mine. Here in Portland in the startup community, Rick Tarosi, who we refer to lovingly as the godfather of Portland startups. He's been a really powerful mentor. Also a man named Stephen Green here in Portland. It took me a really, really long time in my career to have mentors. And it's my number one regret about my earlier career is that I did not seek out and kind of cultivate those relationships. And now, one of the greatest joys of the work that I do now and the career that I've built is that I get to be a mentor to young salespeople, young founders, because it's very, very satisfying to play even the tiniest role in helping somebody recognize how freaking great they are.
Yeah. When was the last time you were kind of wooed by a salesperson? How do they go about wooing, how do they get you to accept a phone call or a meeting or that?
I've had some really shitty recent experiences with salespeople, which I hate because I love salespeople. And so it's really annoying when salespeople give us a bad name. I actually, what was it, like 2 days ago, maybe? And this guy had sent me a couple emails and I totally ignored it. And I picked up the phone and I was like, God damn it. It was a guy from, what is it? FreshBooks. It's like an accounting thing. And he had like a really, really great phone pitch and was really good at asking questions and actually made me feel like he listened to when I would respond. And he even said when I was like, well, I feel like I'm good over here. And he was like, oh, no, no, no. He was like, I get that. He was like he just listened and was like, didn't try to like sell me on switching that part, and was like, but would you be open to talking about this other stuff? And I was like, you know what? Okay. And it was like one of the best cold calls I've had in a really long time.
That's
And
great.
while I was on it, I was like, oh, he got me. But then I was like, all right, you're pretty good. And it's always,
I do want to be sensitive to time because you said you had a 2:00 meeting. So, and I wish we had more time, but we had 15 minutes of just horrific problems getting set up. But what's exciting for you? I mean, if you were going to just decide the topic today, what would you decide, or what's the future? That topic that might coincide with the future of A Better Jones, your company.
Well, the biggest thing that I'm really focused on now is we are really focused on this coaching program that I'm building out. We've had a couple of people. I have a couple of new coaching clients that I've onboarded, and we're going to be creating kind of a group element as well. But that's all about thought leadership. And I talk to a ton of founders and entrepreneurs and also senior executives who think my company would be doing better, my career would be doing better if more people knew who the hell I was and respected me for the work that I do. And I don't know how to do this. And I think everybody deserves to have the support they need to kind of find that voice and find a way to like build a platform where they can actually have an impact. And I think we're going to see a lot more people, especially in this age where people are going through such hard times, thinking about how do I leverage my career? How do I leverage my expertise and experience to have a meaningful impact on my community and my industry?
That's great. Well, I'll say goodbye. I really appreciate you giving me the time, being on the show. Do you want to promote anything or say where people can find you?
So just go to abetterjones.com. We are building a free Slack community and just like coaching and content resource that is all about learning how to become a thought leader and kind of build an authentic personal brand. And that is called Our Galaxy. And if you go to ourgalaxy.co, you can join. We have bi-weekly webinars. We do AMAs almost every week with experts. And it's a really, really fun and rapidly growing community. And I would love to see your listeners there.
Gotcha. And this will be on sales. My company, salesisevolving.com, but that's launching, I don't know, the next couple of weeks. So Sales Intersection Podcast on YouTube, Sales Intersection Podcast on Spotify, if you prefer to listen. And I'll follow up with you soon because I'd like to listen to these and digest and then come back with some questions. So
well, and as you build out your business, and especially, like we were just talking about, you've got the sales background, but not the marketing. If you ever want a sounding board or want to talk through it, don't hesitate to let me know. More than happy to do that.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
You too. Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Casey.